Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet a financial guru who works with athletes to teach them how to not blow the dough. Her incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, this is a very familiar story, and so many professional athletes know this very well. They sign this big contract, they get a ridiculous amount of money, they blow through all the money, and in year 2 they injure themselves, and now suddenly their career is cut short. And we hear stories about celebrity athletes that we all looked up to who are doing menial labor because they didn't make good financial decisions while they had the dough. Somebody who's very passionate about that is my next guest. Seiler is in the studio. She's with Financial Footwork. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I want to go back to the early days. How did this start for you? Have you always been kind of a numbers person?
Numbers are easy,
Yeah.
But the reality is that I have not always been a finance person, and it all came about in college. And in college, I got a phone call as I was graduating. A friend of mine was drafted. He was struggling in the NFL. And he needed some help. And so I started helping him. And it landed me a few years later as the financial coach for the Miami Dolphins.
No kidding. Okay, well, this is a good time to name drop. So just name drop, like what kinds of teams do you work with? And feel free to name the team or just name the league.
Yeah, so the NFL,
Okay.
the NBA, LSU Athletics, which has been an awesome experience. And most notably, the teams I've been with the longest in the NFL would be the Miami Dolphins, the Cleveland Browns, the Green Bay Packers, the San Francisco 49ers, and if I keep going, we'll just name them all. So we'll just stop with those 4, and the other ones are going to be mad at me for not naming them. But yes, there's quite a few.
Well, I'm so impressed with your resume, and I'm also impressed with you as a global speaker. So we found something of a sizzle reel. Let's go ahead and roll that.
This is our financial foundation. This is where we start. If we can't master this, it doesn't matter how much wealth we build because we haven't gotten the basics down, which is budgeting, starting to understand your credit, and then of course, securing your wealth. Wealth only lasts as long as you keep it. The second you don't protect it, the second you spend it, it's gone. And it can be gone just like that. But I'm a firm believer, if you can't manage $1,000, you can't manage $1 million, period. So if we can handle it here and we can see the burn rates, we can figure out where the money is going, we can actually get somewhere with it.
And so it's easy to understand how so many of these celebrity athletes go broke. They might have grew up in an underprivileged neighborhood. Suddenly they become the star in college and they sign this ridiculous contract, and they're friends that they didn't even know they had.
That's a thing. That is absolutely a thing.
So when you're coaching these athletes, what do you tell them about friends and family?
Friends and family are the hardest part, Jeff, honestly, because there is a lot of expectation when you are a pro athlete around supporting the family, supporting the friends. People come out of the woodwork you didn't even know were friends. That happened to me a couple times, and I was shocked because I'm not famous. And it was because of who I work with. So you can imagine that someone like me who is not known and does work with entertainers and athletes, could you imagine what the athlete gets? The amount of requests that they get. And so learning how to say no politely and also say no with intent is very, very important. And so teaching these guys what the value of money is and how it relates to their value proposition as a person
Sure.
connecting them to that value is everything. If they can't connect to the value that they bring and the value of money for them, they can't say no.
All right, give us a for instance. So
Yeah.
one of the athletes you're coaching, suddenly his best friend from high school comes to him with this investment property or this deal, and you got to invest in this ice cream company. I mean, they had everything, right?
Yeah, everything.
And so give them the words. What words do they use to politely,
Decline?
decline?
Investment opportunities are my favorite because investment opportunities are very easy to see through. If someone comes to you, and I did have a player who came to me last season and he said, hey, my friend wants to invest in this property and it's in California. Here are the specifications. And I said, well, let me see them. And so he pulls up a listing and I said, that's not specifications, that's just a property. And I said, what does this person want from you? And he said, he wants me to write a check for X amount. And I said, okay. In order for you to do that, you need to ask for 3 things. And he said, okay, what do I need to ask for, Hill? I said, first, a business plan. What are we doing with the property? What's the intent? So business plan is number 1. Number 2, what's the pro forma? If I invest in this, what's my return on investment? And give me a 5-year projection. He said, okay, I can do that. And I said, and number 3, is this really where you want to put your money? I said, because that's the most important piece. Do you actually care about this investment? And he said, well, if it makes me money, yeah. And I said, that's not what I asked you. I said, do you care about the investment? Is this really where you want to put a chunk of your portfolio, a chunk of your wealth? And he said, I never thought about it that way. And I said, so go get the numbers, because numbers don't lie. If the math isn't mathing, we're going to know really quickly. And then we went on to discuss the proposition. And then I realized, man, this is not a good deal because they want all your money and nobody else has skin in the game.
Right.
So he said no. But then he came back to me a couple months later and he said, I don't think I'm ready to be in real estate yet. I'm only in my 2nd year. And I said, so you're connecting to what's important to you?
Right.
And he said, yeah. And now he's investing in other things. And that money is actually being used in multiple avenues, not just one.
Right. This may not be true today, but about 3 years ago, I looked up, celebrity net worth, and I looked up Terrell Owens, T.O. I mean, he made something like $400 million during his career, and celebrity net worth had him at 0 5 years ago. I think he's made a little bit of money since then. Yeah. But that is one of those heartbreaking stories that, dude, even if you had taken a little bit of that money, put it in a place where you can't even get to it.
Yes.
So what do you talk about? How if Dak Prescott just signed a ridiculous contract?
He did.
If he took even 10% of that and put it in something that he can't get to.
That's a nice little rock safety net, don't you think? 10% of that, never touch it. If the world falls away, you have that. That's one of the things we do talk about is what's your rock? And we call it the rock because if everything else in your life fails, where do you go to start over? And that's your rock. That's what we call an athlete's emergency fund, where you and I are going to have a different level of emergency fund, right?
Sure.
The athlete's rock is where they start over. And so for us, a lot of what we talk about with the guys I work with is what is lifestyle to you now? And then what is your rock? And here's the thing. And everyone forgets this about these guys. They're 22 years old. If you handed me $1 million at 22, I would have messed it up. It probably would have messed it up. And I am teaching them how to not mess it up. But again, they're still going to have choices, habits, lifestyle that they want to live. So I tell them, you can live like a king for the next 1 to 5 years, or you can live like a prince forever, your choice. Either build the rock or spend it all. At the end of the day, as a financial coach, I can't tell them what to do, but I can encourage them in ways so that when they are done with the game, they aren't $0 net worth. Mm-hmm.
One of the things that impresses me most about you, Hillary, is you have swagger as a speaker. There's great confidence, and I can imagine you're going into a room of 100 athletes. That's intimidating for most people, but you rock it. Here's a little clip from her speaking to athletes.
This is our financial foundation. This is where we start. You have to start running your money like it's a business. You guys are the CEO of your life. I look at each of you and I see a brand, I see a person behind that brand, and I see somebody who can make money. So I want you guys to start thinking about your money and shifting that, reframing that mindset into, I gotta run it like a business. So if we can handle it here and we can see the burn rates, we can figure out where the money is going, we can actually get somewhere with it.
Okay, tell me about the reaction, because what I couldn't see is, their faces. What is the reaction when you're enlightening them to, guys, this is a common story. 95% of you are going to be broke here in a few years.
Yeah.
And are they eager participants, or they say, no, it won't happen to me?
I think NIL's changed it. Mm-hmm. I think NIL has changed the scope of what people want to know and how they learn and what they're learning. And the reality is they want to learn. I have the lean-in moment on almost every presentation that I do. And I look at them as a series of seminars, a series of educational content, not just I'm going to go in and talk for 45 minutes and hope it sticks. That's never my intent. It really is about the individual learning something that they can take away immediately and utilize. And that's where I think we've lost financial education for our generation. For my generation, I'm an old millennial. And so the younger generation grew up with phones in their hands. So everything is always easily accessible. And the way they learn is quick hits, 60-second TikTok videos, 30-second Instagram videos. In order for them to learn something that's actually going to stick and stay with them, they have to learn the concept 5 to 7 times, which is why the teams bring me in so many times a year, because we are reiterating those topics and the things they need to know, and they actually care. They want to know because they understand it impacts their financial future, and it's not just for the year that I see them or the 5 years they're with one of my teams. It's their entire life we're talking about. It's from now through when they have kids to when their kids have kids to building that generational wealth.
Tell me one of your favorite success stories.
This is one of my favorite guys. I won't mention his name, but he will know who he is immediately. I met him in 2018 when I was helping him transition out of playing football into the real world, and he was trying to figure his career out. He has a son. They weren't doing very well. In fact, they were failing. And he met me. We started working on things together. About 2 years later, randomly out of the blue, I got a text message that said, "I absolutely adore everything you've done for me. You saved my life," in big, bold letters. And I still have that text saved on my phone. And he said, "I literally couldn't have done this without you. I just want you to know that I'm buying my first house. My son is going to have a college education, and my career is going in places I never thought it would. Thank you." And that's why I do what I do.
And I don't know if you could see on the camera, but she got a little choked up just now. That was really cool. This is a passion. This is not just a way to make a living, is it?
No, these are my guys. These are people. People forget that these are human beings under the helmet or on the basketball court or student athletes that are literally learning life as they go. They're figuring it out as they go.
Sure.
And money is such a personal topic for me because I've gone through so much with it. If I can alleviate the things I've gone through for the people I work with, that's one less stress they have in their life.
Yes.
And money is our biggest stressor. Leading cause of divorce.
Yeah.
It causes everything. It causes fights between people. Families fight over money. Single individuals stress internally about it all the time. I can't imagine how mental health is impacted by. I know how mental health is impacted by it, and that's a whole different topic. But I can't speak on that. That's not my strong suit. But it impacts everything.
And unfortunately, there's still kind of a taboo around money. I mean, parents don't talk about it with their kids. Sometimes husbands and wives don't talk about it. So breaking through that, let's just all be honest, is important, right?
So you have to have the conversations. I always say, welcome to my dinner table to my athletes. So my dad and my mom, when she was alive, sat us down every night at the dinner table. We had no choice, let me tell you. We did not always want to be at the dinner table. Okay, as a teenager, I did not want to be at that dinner table. We had to be at the dinner table. And our conversations always centered around money, economics, how finance works, world economy and trade. We didn't talk about people. We talked about ideas and events and things that were happening because my mom was a firm believer that if you talked about people, you were not strengthening your circle. And if you talked about ideas and events, you were pushing yourself. And my dad, being the brilliant mind that he is, always brought us to a new topic. And so my friends would come over to dinner, and it was, welcome to the dinner table. Tonight we're going to talk about XYZ in finance.
That's cool.
And we started young. So when people told me they didn't talk to family about money, I went, well, where did you learn about it? And the answer is, we didn't.
Right.
And now we have a generation of 18 to 30-year-olds who literally know nothing because they've never been taught. And you cannot expect somebody who's never been taught something to actually understand how it works.
Yeah.
That's never going to be a thing.
And we're about to experience the greatest generational wealth being passed on in their history of life, right? And
yes.
So there's going to be a lot of Gen Zs and millennials who are suddenly going to come into a lot of money, and we'll probably make the same mistake that some athletes do. You're a very popular podcaster. Let's go ahead and show her podcast page off of YouTube. Tell us more about Train Your Money, a financially fit show.
So Financially Fit with Coach Hill is all about taking the habits of training your money like an athlete trains for success and applying it to your money game. Mm-hmm. So we all know a 12-week workout program. Everybody's done one at one point in time or another.
Sure.
You can do the same thing with your money. You can train it like an athlete trains for success, meaning you can every week do a set of workouts that get you one step closer to your financial goals, because money can't be handled in a day. Just like a workout program, you don't see results for a few weeks. Money's the same thing. If you are just approaching it for the first time, you have to start with fundamentals. You have to have a budget. You got to understand when your bills are due. You got to start making the payments on time. Then you can build up to the wealth building strategies. But again, it's step by step. Learn the fundamentals, and then you can start adding on the weight.
Wow, I can see why you're so successful. We only have about a minute left, so look into that camera on the left and talk to the person who is watching this saying to themselves, I think I just found my coach.
Anyone can do finance. It's just a matter of taking it a step at a time. It's a matter of knowing what you want, what you value, and then being able to put that on paper and creating the strategy that works for you. Finance is not one size fits all. Every time I hear that, I tell people it's not how it works. You make money what you want it to be. When my mom passed away, she wrote me a letter, and in that letter she said, money is a tool, but it will only take you so far without vision. So if you don't have a vision for where your life is going, your money isn't going to follow. The math won't math. So make sure that you have a plan, you get it on paper, and then you start doing the fundamentals every single day so you find success.
Mic drop. You're brilliant. We're going to end with her website, which is financialfootwork.com, the great Hillary Seiler. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.